clicks. Perth Pride who vibes slam dunk flicks. Cause a play-by-play get your fix. Wildcat Wrap, it's a fan star pick. Wildcat Wrap where the courtside clicks. Perth Pride who vibes slam dunk flicks. Get the play-by-play get your fix. Wildcat Wrap, it's a fan star pick.
Hello, everybody. This is Adam Bat from the Wildcat Wrap. It's season 1, episode 5, where today's podcast is proudly supported and presented by the team at the Basketball Fix. For all your basketball needs in terms of articles, super coach advice, game reviews and previews, and of course, podcasts about everything that is happening and unfolding in the world of NBL, all you have to do is head to the Basketball Fix. And joining me this week, as he does every week, an absolute pleasure and a joy to have Dechlan Pager. Declan, welcome back to the show. Wrapped episode 5 already. Who would have thought? But Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of our fans as well. And how did you see in the new year? I believe that you saw many, many fireworks in your happy start to 2025.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, took a trip up to Les Murdy, Lions Lookout. A lot of Perth viewers would know that spot. It's quite good for the city view. I was up there at 12 o'clock at night. Got to see the fireworks from Mandurah up to Perth and North River as well. So, yeah, it was a nice look. Good sort of time just to celebrate New Year. Exciting, So, yeah, ready to kickstart this year, and hopefully for the Wildcats' sake, this is their year, mate. We're coming strong.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed indeed as well. And for myself, it was the absolute opposite of that. I was in bed by about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. The little one had enough at our event. And it was horizontal by 10, but up by about 11, because whilst they had enough, they also were happy to have a second party at about 11:30 p.m. in the evening. So that was just brilliant. But just before we dive into the game, and a really successful one for the Perth Wildcats today, I just wanted to talk about some of the Basketball Fixes content across the last couple of days and also coming ahead. There was an incredible interview with former Tasmanian Jack Jumper import, who's now left the league, unfortunately, and Craig Sword. Just a great one-on-one interview by Josh Higgins. And there's also a Jack Heverin interview coming up as well. Another one-on-one interview, a great get also by Josh too. Plus, we have to call a shout out the Hawk Hangout, the Tasmanian Takeover, and we also have podcasts coming up for Sydney, Adelaide, and New Zealand on their way in the coming weeks. So shout out to those guys. And also, you would have seen a very brand new introduction from a video and audio standpoint. I don't really like doing this, but I sort of have to. I've got to give a reluctant thank you to JD from the Tasmanian Takeover. He's a whiz with the AI. So the comedian by day, AI expert by night. But thank you so much, JD, for giving us a bit of a leg up there. So we'll try to do the right thing. But enough about giving compliments to Tasmania. We're here to talk about the Perth Wildcats. And of course, that's what all of our lovely Red Army want to hear about. So let's get straight into the rewind. Let's take a look back at the previous game. Of course, it was at Spark Arena against an under siege and free-falling New Zealand Breakers. They were missing their main man, of course, in Parker Jackson Cartwright. But let's sort of firstly talk about the first half, Declan. Tucker Fall, he was dominating in the interior, the big man, the 13-foot, 100 person, just like the tallest guy that you've ever seen in your entire life. They didn't really have too many answers for him in that first term. And I guess New Zealand, they were on a bit of a breakaway. No pun intended there, of course. But then the Perth Wildcats decided to come into the game in the second term. Got a bit of an ascendancy there. But the first half in itself, before we talk about the second half, and it was overall a really good game. But the first half, how did you sort of see that play out, I guess, Declan?
Yeah, it was actually a bit of a dogfight. I actually jumped the gun last podcast and said, we're going to destroy New Zealand. It's going to be an easy win, and it was not that. It was a dogfight, and as BC said, they fight hard. It's always a tough road trip to New Zealand. So was to come away with that and start the way they did was great to see. From the tip, really, we never broke out, and it was just so close. I was actually really nervous watching this game, not for the fact of Taco Fall as such, but just because it's one win really needed. And it's that nervous feeling of, like, if we drop this, it's going to hurt. So to see us just quarter by quarter slowly chip away, get them into foul trouble, and just run the ball smoothly through hands, it was good to see. And Cotton, again, just all-out superstar, man. I've got no words to describe him, honestly. He is the GOAT. And I'm putting it out there right now. He is, by the time it's done, he is the GOAT. There's no question about it. The way he plays, week in, week out, I can't say enough good things about him. And then the team overall, like, credit where credit's due. They played a tough game. First quarter, came out the blocks. Defensive-wise, we kept them to a reasonably low score, which is good because we've been known for giving up those kind of high-scoring quarters, and it makes it hard on us. So to keep them below 90 and then the first half to keep it to a reasonably low score was great to see. I think that was definitely a confidence boost in the second half of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the first half, as you sort of said, sort of back and forth for the most part. It was pretty even in that first term. And then Perth just decided to get a little bit of ascendancy. Not that they really decided. I'm sure that they have a discussion with them that quarter time. Oh, guys, do you actually mind if we just sort of go into the halftime sort of 8 points up? I don't think that's exactly how it happened, but Perth sort of wore them down a little bit more, really. And to finish it off, and actually just before we go to the finish it off part, to halftime, Perth had 5 steals, which was just brilliant. And they only gave up 3 turnovers up against New Zealand's 9. And then they also had plus 13 in points from turnover. So that was absolutely the game then and there. The points from turnover, that was the sole reason why they had that massive lead. New Zealand giving away the ball, and Perth made them pay. So that's just the black and white of it there. That was where the game was being won and lost. In the end, Perth ended up running out winners. But to finish off the game, and you said you were quite nervous in this game, and I was exactly the same pretty much the whole way through. But in particular, that last term when New Zealand were coming back on the back of Matt Mooney, he was just superb. They finished the game on a 12-3 run from 5.5 minutes to go to 1.5 minutes to go in that final term. As soon as Matt Mooney fouled out, unfortunately, that was just a killer blow for the Breakers. And Perth ended up winning 96-86. So, Dec, how do you think Perth sort of ended up getting on top and closing out the game? How did they adjust and stop that New Zealand wave of momentum, to finish, I guess, the winners of this contest?
I definitely think we escaped one with Matt Mooney fouling out. He was on fire. Credit to that guy. This isn't a Breakers podcast, but the way he was playing, he played well. He really put us in the test. So shout out to that guy. The way he's playing for that team, credit where credit's due. They've struggled and done well. So good job to him. I think that really helped us, that foul out there. And Taco Fall, the minutes restriction on him definitely helped us, because when he came out the game, we were able to exploit the interior. I guess when you got someone who's 10 foot really in next to the rim, it's going to make it hard. So just for us to pick the matchups quite well and run our plays and not get flustered was a big thing. I feel like if we were to have the same matchup early in the season, we get flustered. And that just comes with all the team gelling together, knowing where our players are, having that consistency. And now that we've been, as I've said, we've been on the road, everyone's together, they're, mentally, strong together, like they know what's going on. So I feel like just the composure towards the end in that last 5 minutes, because it was close, it was neck and neck. I think they were up by 1 point at one stage. And to just finish it off like that, yes, we can say it's Bryce got brilliant, 16 points in the fourth quarter. He won the game, but that's an easy way to put it. If you look at the defense and just the hustle and the dogfight, as I mentioned earlier, the way that we ran that, just didn't give up and just put all of our energy out there. I think New Zealand ended up getting more tired towards the end than us, and we just had that extra bit of composure to just overtake them in a way.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well summed up. That they certainly just wore them down across the whole time, and yeah, you feel for New Zealand and you feel for Matt Mooney because he had one heck of a game. Single-handedly brought the Breakers back into the contest, and really keen to see what the breakdown is going to be for the New Zealand upcoming podcast. So keen to see how they saw it, and obviously how we see it too. Just like contrasting styles, but yeah, like what they were able to do in that final term, 22-14, just enough just to get on top of them, and just I guess. Yes, Matt Mooney going off definitely hurt them, but New Zealand still had the momentum. They were still up by a point. They could have easily, just kept that going, but Perth found a way to get back in the game. An individual bit of brilliance by Bryce, of course, certainly helps. But, getting rebounds, getting stops, getting steals, that all adds up in the end. So, yeah, as you said, summed up really, really well. And they just did what they needed to do. It was sort of like that Adelaide game a couple of weeks ago. Big time danger game. A team that's, underperforming. And on paper, that your team is good enough to beat them and sort of do it well. But in the end, they got it done. And that's all they had to do. So yeah, that's like really, really good from Perth Wildcats perspective. A couple of stats that matter. So sort of try to look at the breakdown of the stats, and something that really stood out in regards to either a win or a loss. Thankfully, it's a win on this side. +7 in steals, Declan. So getting their hands in there, and also only 5 turnovers, and New Zealand gave up 18. Like, well, what do you take out of those important stats? And there's one more there, but I'm sort of saving that for my peak and the pit. But yeah, like steals, like massive, like that's quite a sizable number, as in 7 more than New Zealand, and then only 5 turnovers. Like, well, what do you take out of those individual stats from a team perspective?
That's actually, I didn't know that was the difference. I actually thought it was much closer. So I'm going to have to make sure I start doing my stat research a bit better. I think that's a crazy number when you think about it. Actually, like 18 turnovers, as we mentioned a few weeks back, we had the same number against Illawarra and Hospitals and that. So 5 to 18, you're going to have a very good chance to win a game if you have it like that. That just comes down to just having the ball in the right people's hands at the right time. Running your sets, being smart with the ball, not being flustered. I think we've really done a good job of that. Like, I can't pinpoint it to a certain player because it's just been an all-out team effort in that way. But 5 turnovers, if that's what you're going to get every game, like, you're going to have a very good chance at the end. Because they're not getting second chances, or other teams aren't getting second chances, which some teams thrive on to have that as a start. That's awesome. Oh, that's really good. I'm actually stoked by that because I didn't realise that was the difference. So shout out to the boys for that really good job.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And like, just to have and cause so much havoc that you have that many more steals. Because I think at halftime they were, that's right, they had 5 steals as well. So like, just to increase that in the second half, and then only 5 turnovers for the game. New Zealand gave up 18. You could probably say that maybe that should have turned into more. And like, they should have won by a sizable advantage, given the fact that you've got 18 more opportunities to score. It doesn't matter. You still get the win by 1, win by 10, whatever. Just getting the points and getting that W away is just the most important part. But yeah, clearly it was a mixture of Perth putting on enough pressure, and then New Zealand just probably making unfortunate and uncharacteristic errors from their perspective. So, but yeah, that was certainly a couple of stats that stood out that defined the game from my perspective for sure. Let's get to a couple of look at me. So that's the standout offensive or defensive players from the game. And well, we don't try to make it too common, but he makes that job too hard because you can't ignore Bryce Cotton, because he has done it again. He had 16 points alone, as you sort of alluded to earlier, Declan, in the fourth quarter. He ended up with 41 overall, added 5 assists, 13 of 26 from the field, so directly 50%. I guess, how was Bryce, Declan, able to take over the game in that fourth term and will his team over the line? Because yes, what we sort of spoke about, the team effort, but Bryce himself, how was he able to do it, Declan?
His stamina is I don't know what cardio routine he's doing, but I think I'm going to try and pinch that off him. Man, I don't see anyone like in many sports be close to that. Like you look, shout out to the NBA, like a lot of those players. I don't think many of them have a tank like he does. Like you can put him out there for 40 minutes and he doesn't get tired. I never see his shot fall short. It's unworldly, to put it that way. It is just a joy to watch. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's just that stamina. Like, okay, then, like if you're going to make this game hard for me for the first three quarters, that's fine. Now you're in the fourth, and that's what he's doing. Like he doesn't need to score 20 in the first half. It's when it gets to the end of the game, he just clutches it. And he's always been a clutch player. Like, don't get me wrong, his talent, it's top 1%, And to just have that sort of extra edge, which he alluded to in his post-game interview, to just have that tiny extra bit over the other team, it goes such a long way. To drop 16 and a quarter, like sometimes teams don't even score 16 and a quarter. So it's just individual brilliance, man. Like we're going to see this for years to come, hopefully, and it's a joy to watch. There's some times where he does it, and I think to myself, like, how does he do it? Like it's crazy. Just shout out to him. He's my favourite player, and I can't say enough great words about the man. He is awesome. I can only praise him.
That's very true. Yeah, sometimes just run out of superlatives for Bryce. But yeah, his fitness regime in the off season, and he's been asked a number of times over many seasons about this, and he refuses to tell everyone what he does, where he goes to, and like it's going to be a terrific book once his career finishes in 3 or 4 years time, however long it is, to read and to find out exactly what he does. But he almost just goes to another level every season, and it's pretty hard to do that when you've already won 4 league MVPs. But yeah, he's doing just that. Yet another incredible season and lining himself for what looks like to be a possible 5th MVP of the league. But time will tell. Still a lot of basketball to play out, but he's put himself in a great position for that. Let's get a quick little injury. Yeah, absolutely. Go on.
Yeah, I'm saying that he's going to have like 8 by the time he's done. He could play to his 40. Honestly, like I can see it already. Yeah, I reckon he's going to break the record. We'll come back to this in a few years' time, and I'll call that. All right.
Well, if or when the 8th comes, like surely this footage will definitely come out from the archives, and you would have heard it here first, NBL and Perth Wildcat fans, that Declan called it, that 8 is definitely on the cards for Bryce. So an early look at the crystal ball, Declan, sort of. But I like it though. A really, really good call, and he's you just can't doubt him because he just keeps doing it over and over and over again. A quick little injury update. Christian Doolittle, that groin injury. Fingers crossed. Next game he may be available. I'll have to sort of see how it plays out. We're recording on a Sunday, so won't get that kind of information until midweek, but that is about the 3 or 4 week mark since he had that injury. So he's going to be very close to a run in the next game. So if he comes in, well, that certainly is a game changer from a team perspective. And Ty Webster, his hamstring, he's still about 3 or 4 weeks away. So he's not going to be back anytime soon. He's looking at a finals comeback if the Perth Wildcats can get themselves into that position over the next month of basketball. Well, we like to do every so often a little bit of young talent time. So a couple of young players on our roster who are showing positive signs. And my pick this week, and I didn't actually get a chance to update what his plus minus was across the whole game, but Elijah Pepper to halftime. He had plus 15 plus minus, and in that second time alone, he had a really positive influence on the floor. Wasn't really so much about his 3-pointer bombs, or he had a couple of assists, which was good, but he just clearly had a nice dynamic with the other 4 individuals who were on the court. Just gave them that run, that gave them that that bit of ascendancy, and of course the 8 or 9 point lead that they had going into the second term. What we've been talking about, I guess me in particular, Elijah Pepper wanting to give him more minutes, give him some more responsibility, more shooting time. We know that Ben Henschel's getting a lot of that, and absolutely fair enough. But what did you sort of make of Elijah's, I guess, impact on the game, especially in that second term?
Yeah, he finds his spots. He's a really good scorer. Like, if he had more time on the court, if you give him 30 minutes, he's going to drop that 20 to 25 each game. And I just love how he plays the game. Like, he moves around, and he just got to his spots. I noticed that in the second quarter, under the basket, on the three-point line, he can dribble it, and it just makes the defense think all the time. I'm actually quite a fan of this game. Like, I can't say he deserves 30 minutes a game yet, because he's still he's young. It's his first year in the NBL. But if he has a future with us, I can see really good things. That sort of experience that you gain year in, year out, his talent is just going to rise. Like, it's on that sort of incline. Like, the players around him and how he can play, and just if he can pick it all up and learn at a good pace, he's going to be a bucket, man. Honestly, he's going to be just hitting shots in the future, and it's exciting to see from such a young player and to watch from when they get their small sorts of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you see them when they're young, and then you look back and you see them in a few years' time, and little versions of Bryce Cotton, their buckets and scoring at will. And it's great to see just that over the years how they can turn out. So there's definitely a really big future for Elijah Pepper, especially if he stays with us. I don't want to see him on another team. So keep him here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I hope that he has this season similar to what Ben Henschel had last season. Like, he wasn't getting a lot of game time. He had small minutes here and there. And then he had, a couple of okay games. That seems to be the kind of Elijah Pepper season that he's going to have this year. John Ridley's not going to give him a lot of game time. In saying that, though, he's probably had more of an impact than what Ben did last year. But then I'm hoping next season, because I'm pretty sure he signed at least a 2-year contract, that John's going to give him, Coach John Ridley, is going to give him a bit more responsibility. He's going to get more game time. And, we're just going to see him grow even more. But, yeah, love his defense. I love his tenacity, his toughness. He gets rebounds, even though, he's not massive from a high perspective, but he's solid as heck. And he's just, as you said, a flat-out scorer, knows how to get a bucket. Just a really great pickup from Danny Mills and the front office team. So everyone, I'm sure a lot of people went like, Elijah who? When you heard he was signed. And then, of course, we heard the interviews came across really well for a young man coming out of college, and then, well, he's let his basketball do the talking so far. But that's a little bit of young talent time for Elijah. Now let's do the old crystal ball, Declan. Here's what's ahead. So preview of the next game, and it's Tasmania. So our friendly rival, the Tasmanian Takeover boys. Well, we're heading down there. Not us, but the Perth Wildcats will be to My State Bank Arena on Jan 12. Going back about a month ago or so, maybe it was a little bit more, but unfortunately the Perth Wildcats went down 79-84 in their last visit, I guess, to them. That was actually back in round 3. So they went in Perth into 3-quarter time, leading by 6 points, but ended up losing in overtime. So unfortunately, Milton Doyle, a terrific shot, but just not really great showing from a Perth Wildcats perspective from a defensive standpoint. But Tasmania, they've won 8 on the trot. It might have stopped. I'm not keeping too much track of the game against Southeast Melbourne that's happening right now, or it might be over. I know they were down by about 10 or 11 heading into the last quarter, so a big boil over there. Unlucky Tassie boys, but you're due for a loss, so just to keep your heads in, all right? So just calm down, Tasmania, seriously. Dec, how do you think this game's going to play out? Let's sort of talk about a couple of key matchups, or where do you reckon it's going to be won and lost?
Well, just to start off with, I definitely think there's going to be some shots fired on the Tassie Takeover podcast. There's definitely going to be a rivalry there and shots at each other. So shout out to them. It's definitely going to be a sad podcast for them when they have their this one. So I'm hoping we can go down there and make sure that it's an upset, stir the pot a bit, get stuck into them. Tasmania has always been just that team. Like, they love a dogfight. I'm going to say it, they are the best defensive team in the league, and that is one of their core values. Like Scott Roth, that's him. He's a great coach, great team. Like, if I didn't support the Wildcats, I am a fan of how Tassie do their game and how they play. So it's definitely going to be one of those ones where defense is going to play a factor. And again, Todd Withers, he's going to come up big. I believe he's probably going to play that game over 2 but I can't be 100% certain. So just those effort plays, the hustle, and just digging deep, that's the one thing we need to improve on from when we last went down there. And not just focus on hitting those big shots, because if it dries up, you've got to go to a different route. So I think defense is where it's going to be won. If we can just limit the shots from Crawford, like he was on fire today, I watched a bit of their game. And if we can limit his confidence and his shooting, that's going to really make it a step for us, because Doyle, he's going to knock down shots. You're never going to keep both of them to under 5 points. It's not going to happen. So you've got to live with what happens. But if we can just make it hard for them, hustle hard on defense, and just play smart and not get flustered with their crowd, I think that's where we can win the game. And just step by step, not get ahead of ourselves, play by play, in other words, and just keep the crowd to a minimum, because they are loud. They're a good crowd down in Tassie. So if we can just keep that to a minimum, BC shows a bit of brilliance and we get Minder involved, I think we can knock them off. And that's going to be definitely a really good win for us, because our road trip, I think, we're 4-1. So let's hope we can make that 5-1, really take that big step into the back end of the season.
Yeah, agreed. Like, this could be like the final launching pad to the fun part of the season, with that long home stretch of games that they've got, because we know that, and we've spoken about it quite a bit, that they go on the road because they have to, because RAC Arena is out of bounds due to the tennis. But I think due to like Will Magnay, I think he's still out for that game at least. KP Keanu Pinder, he is going to be the big key. They're not super tall. This is the one game, the complete opposite in New Zealand, but they're going up against, the 11'3", Taco Fall. This is the complete opposite. Keanu can really go to work down low. I think if Keanu has a, 20 and maybe 6 or 7 kind of game, like 20 points, 6 or 7 rebounds, I think they're going to be right up there, right to the very end. But as has been the case and notorious with Perth and Tasmania games, I think it's unfortunately going to go to the fourth quarter. So it's not going to be a blowout either way, I don't reckon, or at least I hope not. I think it's just going to be a good game of basketball. And KP is the one guy that I'm hoping can stand up, but it's going to be won and lost in rebounding. They have to rebound strongly and not let Tasmania get second chance points. So, I think we both have broken down really well, and super intrigued to see what the Tassie boys think about it when they do their next podcast. Absolutely. The challenge is down to Tasmanian Takeover. So keep that banter up over the week, boys. It's going to be a really great game, I reckon. Let's now get to a new segment that we brought in last week, a pick and a pit. So a bit of a thumbs up and a thumbs down to either an individual, team, anything from a Perth Wildcats perspective, not just during the game, but it may have happened midweek that you just want to talk about. Declan, you are going to kick us off with your peak. And then last week you didn't have a pick because you didn't need to, because Perth won by about 1,000 points up against Adelaide. Give us a peak and or a pit, mate.
Yeah, so my peak for this week is Jesse Wagstaff. KG vet, does the hustle, gets the spots, doesn't get flustered. He works his ass off. Like, let's be honest, he could quite easily sit back and go, man, like, this is hard. I'm working against Taco Fall here. Like, that's a massive challenge for Wagstaff. And just, he made it difficult. Yes, Taco got his points, but Wagstaff, the way he passes the ball, his knowledge of the game, taking charges, like, it's great to see him lead by example in that way. Like, as the captain, as the veteran of the team, to lead by that way and just hustle on both ends. Like, he's not going to, do anything crazy and show off in a way. But he's just always there, always making those important plays. I've got to give it to him this week. Just nothing crazy on the stat sheet. Like, it's not how he plays, but just his hustle and determination. I think he deserves a shout out for that. So that's my peak. And my pick is David Aguero. I really think he didn't do a very good job this game. And it sounds harsh. It's like, yes, you're up against target fault, but he wasn't hitting shots. He wasn't in the right spots, really, on each end. Like, he was getting caught out offensively, just not cutting. Defensively, Tarko was just pushing him around. David Aguero's not short. He's 6'10". He's athletic. Like, he should be able to make more of a challenge than what he did. I think he needs to step up. Like, yes, you're a young player. You're not getting a ton of minutes, but if you show that fight, you show you're up for the challenge, and you're going to go, okay, like, if Tarko's going to bully me on one end and take it to him on the other, then I feel like that's how he can get more minutes and expand his game. But I think in my eyes, it was a poor game from him. Didn't get, many shots. Defensively, wasn't in the right spots or anything. So hopefully he can have a bounce back game next time and just expand the floor, shoot the three a bit more. I think, like, he can spread that. That makes the whole team open up more. So I think he needs to work on that. But he's young, so the future is bright.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a question about David Aguero a little bit later on, but I think you've answered a lot of it anyway, but we'll come back to that question. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, David was just a little bit out of his depth a bit, especially today. But like, that place in the starting five, will that change when Christian Doolittle comes back? Well, I guess time will tell. My peak are pretty simple, and I sort of stole it from the stats that matter, but it's plus 17 points from turnover. Like, that is just amazing. And that was the game right there. When you're getting 17 more points from turnover than the opposition, well, you're probably going to be winning most games. And that's exactly what they did. So thank you, New Zealand, for giving us the ball a lot. We really appreciate that. So thank you very much. But also, they made it count, and they made them pay on the turnover from Perth Wildcats' perspective. And Pitt, well, I know that he's your man, Declan, and it hurts me saying this, but DW Dylan Windler needs to start being a bit more selfish and a bit more aggressive. To half time, he only had 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists in 16 minutes. And overall, 33 minutes of basketball. That's a lot of time to make an impact. 9 points, 7 rebounds. He did have 5 O-boards, so big thumbs up there. But 4 assists too. So I think, like, the other parts of his game are really good. They're definitely getting better. But just from it's like he sort of is afraid to shoot sometimes, where we've seen that he's got the range, he's got the capacity from deep as well, like not just the 3-point line, from beyond that too. So yeah, I just would love him to be a little bit more aggressive. We saw what he did in Adelaide. He needs to do that a little bit more. So don't be so shy, Dylan. Like, don't be so passive. We need to see a little bit more from you, just from the scoring, but rebounding, you were amazing. And of course, getting the assist too. So maybe a little bit harsh for a Pitt, but had to choose something, of course. Now a new segment here, and in the Basketball Fix group chat, which there is a lot of shit talking that happens. A lot of comments, a lot of observations. Most of them not very helpful at all. But it's a really safe space. There's also some great bets that get laid down. Of course, always we gamble responsibly, and we're safe with our betting. But one of the individuals that leads the way in this particular area is our own Declan, the Wildcats Wrap. Declan. So Declan, we're going to go Dec's best bet. So the best bet of the week coming up for a Perth Wildcats game. So why don't you start us off with anything that some of our listeners who, if they're that way inclined, if they like to have a cheeky bet, and of course they will always gamble responsibly, what could they put their money on, maybe, Dec?
We say we gamble responsibly. I don't know if category sometimes, so I'm probably not the best example. So take it with a pinch of salt, because I lose more than I win. Nah, yeah, I think for the next game, with it being down in Tassie, you got to take that into factor. So I had a quick look before we started the podcast on just the matchups and just kind of got an all-round feel of it. So I think if you're going to play a safe bet, you're probably going to pick Bryce for 20-plus points or 25. Probably not go any higher than that just because it's against Tassie, down in Tassie. And then I'd also pick Pinder for 5-plus O-boards, or not, sorry, not O-boards, rebounds. I think that would be a good bet as well to pick. And they would probably be the two safest bets. And then I'm gonna say it now. You picked Windler as your hit, but I'm gonna say for him to score plus 15 next game. So hopefully, fingers crossed that he pulls that one off. But yeah, this is just for the listeners that they like to have a cheeky bet, and this is just kind of a bit more info from my point of view and the bets that I would pick. But as I said, I'm probably not the best example all the time. So yeah, gamble responsibly, use your own brain, and don't just copy me because I would hate to stuff some people up. But yeah, just have a look around, and as this segment goes on, I'll probably add more for you guys and see where it leads. So yeah, it's exciting. Adding new things to the podcast is a very exciting chapter for us. So.
No, love it, Declan. Really good start for us, and of course, yeah, have a bit of a listen to those and see if they pique your interest. And we're just going to finish off with a little bit of a rapid fire Q&A from our very loyal Perth Wildcat supporters. There's some awesome Facebook pages out there. I tried to touch base and check in with them, and we had some questions at the back end of last week and across yesterday as well. And Jack Greenwood. So Jack Greenwood, thank you so much for checking in. He also asked, so just give us a couple of quick summary points on this deck before we sign off. Will BC potentially leave the Wildcats?
He's not leaving. There's no way. I think he finishes his career with us. I think we'll see him for at least another 6 years. That 3-year contract should come up at the end of the season. So I, as a Wildcats fan, and for all the rest of our fans, I would look forward to that. I don't think he's going anywhere else. He's got his family here, his home, his wife's from Perth. So I think he's really settled in. And the one thing I've told a lot of people, actually, this is from my point of view, is why go to another league and be just a number when you're the GOAT/king of this league? Like, to have that title, like, you might get a bit more money somewhere else, but I feel like that title means a lot to him. He knows that. He won't say that because he's a very humble person. But I know that he wouldn't want to go somewhere else and sit on the bench and play 20 minutes and no one knows it. He loves having that sort of, he is the face of the league. Everyone wants to see how well he does, where everyone's talking about him. And I know from my own point of view, I would love that. So I think we see Cotton again. I don't think he's leaving. It'd be something crazy to leave, but I'm nearly 100% sure that we'll see him sign a new contract after the season.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. The inside word from Declan, BC is going to be signing very soon a 3-year contract. So as that unfolds, well, you know where you heard it from, the Wildcat Wrap, of course. And our last couple of questions, Johnny Wall with 2 R's. He asked, well, and again, unfortunately, you just can't please everybody. But when can we get an experienced and credentialed senior coach? John Really's doing okay at the moment. Of course, he does have a very good player on his roster in that man that we just spoke about. But he's going all right.
Yeah, Really's doing fine. I think a lot of these fans they miss Gleeson. Don't get me wrong, Gleeson's a great coach. I think they just look at the bad points of Really. But I actually think he's a good coach. You're going to lose games in a season. Some teams have bad days. They have good days. It's just how it goes. So yeah, I don't get it. I really don't see the whole why is our coach so bad sort of thing. Like, I don't think like that. I think he's decent. He's not been a coach for a long time, so he's been here for 3 years. We've made the finals each year. I really don't see how that's a bad thing to finish second last year, to make the playing game the year before. that's a win in my book. There's some teams that have the same coach for, say, 4 or 5 years, and they don't even make the semi-final series. So credit to John Riley. He's doing a good job. And, fans, like, you've got to give him a go. Like, he's doing well. I get it. When we lose, it's it's a hard thing to swallow. And it's easy to say, get rid of the coach. But stick by him, because he's bringing good things to the team, and just be positive, us fans, and what we say. That the players do hear it, and they do see it. So try and stay positive as much as you can. That's from me.
I like it. A nice positive note as well. And I'll do this last one. Troy Newton asked, and we sort of you answered it quite well when we were speaking about this individual. But could we have a conversation about why Aquera is starting? If it's not Pinder, so thank you very much, Troy Newton, for this question. Why isn't Withers starting? I'd get it if Aquera shot the 3 at a decent clip, but they're playing him in as an undersized 4 that can't spread the 4. So very, very valid points. And I think it'll probably be changed, as we sort of touched on, when Christian comes back. Unfortunately, it wasn't David's greatest game today, even with the small amount of minutes that he played. So, yep, Troy, you're on the money there. And a really good question to ask. And let's just see what happens with David's playing time once Christian comes back into the lineup. But unfortunately, sad face. Time always gets the better of us. This has gone on a little bit longer than expected, but what riveting conversation that we've had, Declan, as we always do. And just before we sign off, let's once again give a great plug to the team at the Basketball Fix, and listen to all their content. Everything you need to know is there. Some great podcasting content, led by, of course, the Wildcat Wrap, like none other. But we do have a New Zealand Breakers, a Sydney Kings, and Adelaide 36ers podcast on their way in due course, and they'll be looking to us to lead the way to be the bearers, of course. But please, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a rating, and leave a review, because there's a little healthy competition amongst all the podcasters to get as many likes, downloads, and streams, everything. So please help us out. We're in debt to you for all of your listens and your views. Dec, anything else just to talk to the listeners of this great podcast just before we finish up?
Yeah, well, we are the best podcast in Australia, guys, so get behind it. We're so successful in the way we're doing it. It's just great. So these other podcasts, they're trying to be us, and they're trying to beat us. It's just not going to happen. So keep following the leaders in this competition, and getting around the boys, and like and subscribe. Shout out to the Basketball Fix. The way they've set this platform up for us as fans is great. They're awesome sort of thing to be in, and just support it. We're growing. It's our 4th podcast together, I think, and it's up from here. So week in, week out, we're going to bring this podcast for you guys. And it's our passion. I say it week in, week out, but we love doing this. It's exciting for us, and we love smiles on people's faces. And I know it's a bit of a stat guru myself. I love listening to a podcast where people dig deep into the stats, and it gets interesting. So shout out to everyone that's made this happen, and shout out to the boys for the game today. Good win. And look forward to next week.
Absolutely. Could not have finished us off any better, Declan. So with that intro, from Declan and I, and of course the whole team at the Basketball Fix, we're out for now.
Wildcat Wrap with a courtside clicks. Perth Pride who vibes slam dunk flicks. Cause a play-by-play get your fix. Wildcat Wrap, it's a fan star pick. Wildcat Wrap with a courtside clicks. Perth Pride who vibes slam dunk flicks. Cause a play-by-play get your fix. Wildcat Wrap, it's a fan star pick.